What's up, you filthy flapjacks? I'm Wes Mullenberg, and you're listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. For today's spectacular new episode, I talked to Floodwater Angel, the scene's premier psych glam jam band. Since changing their name and lineup in late 2019, they've steadily released new music and played near constant shows. The band shared about their history, each member's unique songwriting style, new music, and more. Here's my interview with Dylan, Jack, and Sam of Floodwater Angel on the Ear Coffee Podcast. I am here with 3/4 of Floodwater Angel. How are we doing this morning?
We're doing
pretty good.
Very well.
Pretty good?
Pretty good.
Yeah. Let's go around and do introductions. I mean, except for Sam, you both write songs. Unless Sam writes songs and just doesn't tell us. We'll get into that. But also state your role in the band.
My name is Dylan. I play bass and I write songs.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Sam. I play drums, and I'm the resident nerd.
My name's Jack. I play rhythm guitar, and I wrote one song.
What was each of your first, I guess, definitive memory with music? Because I know sometimes it's like very like nebulous, and you're just like, I was a kid, and my parents played these songs. But like often there's like one or like a distinct moment that kind of stuck out to you and really kind of connected.
You should have given us the questions beforehand.
I mean, you didn't ask.
No, we didn't ask. That's on us.
That is on you.
That's on us.
I started on the violin a long time ago. And so when I was first starting high school, I got to play with a full orchestra for the first time, and we played a piece with a choir, and that was insane. And that's when I knew I wanted to do music for as long as I could.
You kind of skipped and answered my second question without even me asking it. I meant like was there any time when like you were younger, like first like when you were like a kid?
I wasn't super involved in music until then.
Until then?
I mean, I
Okay.
played in general. I
Even just
practiced,
like
and that was it.
listening and like just kind of just not even your thing till.
No.
Oh. And now you're the nerd.
I'm a late bloomer,
Listen
yes.
to Sam he never listened to music until he was like 13 years old.
I mean, I feel that. I grew up on Christian radio, and I pretend like I didn't listen to music for the first 10 years of my life. Moving on.
I remember when I was like, I don't remember how young I was. I was at my aunt's house, and people were playing Rock Band. And I had never played Rock Band before. I had never done anything like that. And I remember somebody was like, "Hey Jack, why don't you come over and sing one?" And I was like, okay. And I don't remember what song it was, but I came over.
Had to be Eye of the Tiger. It was Eye of the Tiger.
Probably
It was Eye of the Tiger.
something like that. But I remember singing, and it was like super fun, and it was something I had never done before. And then afterwards somebody came up to me and was like, "Jack, you were really good." And I was like, oh cool.
Validation. That's nice. Yeah.
So, I would say, and this is a weird story, but it's fun. I would say that when I was younger, my parents worked 2 jobs both. And on the weekends, I would go to my grandma's house, usually Saturday mornings all the way through Saturday night. And my grandma, you would think of grandma music, right?
Yeah.
You would think of grandmas listening to classics like Dean Martin, right? Can we swear on this podcast? No.
Yeah.
For some weird reason, my grandma only listened to tapes that she got from my mom in Drumline, because she really loved Drumline. And like, I know this to be true because at her funeral we played one of her favorite songs off of a cassette tape, and it was a Drumline tape. And so we would sit, not all the time because obviously that would be excessively boring,
yeah.
but like we would listen to these cassette tapes that she had on her stereo of just Drumline pieces all the time. And there was obviously marching band pieces mixed in throughout that, but like for whatever reason she just really dug that. So Saturday mornings I would come in, and as soon as I walked in the door it was just, and then the horns would come in. So that was really like the first time I was introduced to music outside of just listening to random nonsense in the car.
Yeah.
And I don't know, as I got a little bit older, you know, that phase that you have where you don't actually pick the music you listen to because you're 12, so whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, we didn't have cable when I was growing up, so the only like outside music sources I would get, we didn't have internet either, was all from TV. So I would watch a lot of TV. That's where my Simpsons obsession comes from, because that was the only thing that we had on TV. And every Saturday night I would watch Saturday Night Live, and they would do obviously the hot new music act at the time, right? And the first time I really actually liked a band was when My Chemical Romance's Black Parade came out, and they played Welcome to the Black Parade on SNL. And the first time that Gino came in, I was like, oh, we can do this for music. Okay.
Piano on this song.
And then they did that whole beautiful intro, and then they busted into that, pop punk anthem. Yeah. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That was the first time I ever really liked a band, was My Chemical Romance.
When did you first realize that you actually wanted to pursue music in any capacity, whether that's just like playing an instrument for your own gratification, or being in one, if not several bands, and actually going out and playing shows? Because there's a significant gap between just like really loving music and enjoying it, and actually being like, no, I want to do it myself. I want to play something too.
It's just one of those things where, like, when you really start trying, you have to overcome all your bad habits and shit. So, like, I don't know, did I really start pursuing music when I was in middle school and I was like, I want to be in a punk band, I want to do punk stuff, and then going, this sucks, I want to play video games, or like, do you really start pursuing music when, like, you go, all right, I'm going to put $300 aside to buy an actual instrument or an actual amp, or all right, I'm actually going to go to practice this week instead of bailing to get high, you know what I mean?
I will even just like taking the time to like write songs, because I know like there's probably millions of people that just like write songs and just don't do anything with them, because they're like, oh, not my thing, or maybe they just don't have that like that extra oomph.
Oh, you definitely need that extra oomph, if you're gonna do music, because music is, I think we had a conversation about this, about the movie Whiplash. Have you ever seen the movie Whiplash? And God, what's his name? Who plays J. Jonah Jameson?
Oh, J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons is the biggest asshole in the whole world in that movie. And it's like, why is he such an asshole? And it's, well, music teachers have to be assholes, because music is the hardest thing to be the best at.
To clarify for the listeners, you don't have to throw cymbals at people and like verbally abuse them constantly. You should be strict and harsh. I think that's more what you were trying to say. Don't be abusive. I think that's a novel concept that we can all get behind. Do you have more to add to your little violin experience, Sam? You just all classically trained and just...
Yeah, actually, I didn't really even get involved with the punk or rock scene, or expected to get involved in the punk or rock scene
as a violinist.
No, even as a drummer, until like a year ago. I started violin when I was like 4, and I just did that, and I'm fully expected to be in the classical music realm. I wanted to be a classical musician professionally for quite a while. It's still slightly on my bucket list, but that's actually how I met Maddie, was through orchestra at the U of M, and then they were like, "Hey, do you want to play in a band?" And I was like, "Sure, I can try."
So it's all Maddie's fault. Rest in peace.
Exactly.
Rest in peace, Maddie. So in early high school, me and a few of my friends started this band called Mystique, that was an 80s hair metal cover band.
Was the name spelled like the X-Men character?
Yes.
Good.
I don't know if it was in reference to that. I didn't come up with the name.
Fair enough.
One night they texted me, was like, "Hey, we're changing the band name to this," and I was like, "Okay." But I played bass and sang in this band, and it was... my friend Matt had this trailer that was like, that he lived in 10 miles outside of our town, and his mom could apparently sleep through anything. So we would just practice in his living room until like 2 a.m. just like playing like Motley Crue, Kiss, Poison, Def Leppard, all that stuff. And we would play at like a bunch of these bars around town, and all the drunk white dads would go absolutely ape shit when he would play Fat Bottom Girls. And but I remember one night we were playing at the fairgrounds in my hometown, and we were playing Wanted Dead or Alive by Bon Jovi. And there's that part where there's the, you say "Wanted," and then everybody yells back "Wanted." it. Yeah. But then like the 30 people that were in the fairgrounds all like yelled it back at me, and I was like, okay, this is really fucking cool. I was like 15. And yeah, so that was what I really did. I was like, okay,
Bon Jovi and a bunch of middle-aged white people.
Bunch of middle-aged white people.
County fair.
That's the most like small town Minnesota or whatever thing you can imagine. That's so funny. You all started a little bit later for you in Loneliest Ways. That was the original name or the original form. That was initially just, for anyone that's listened to either band, it's a different sound than Floodwater currently has, and I'm guessing will continue to have. Put out one single and then an EP. I guess talk a little bit about the EP. Crush came out in early summer 2019.
It's a little unpolished because Sam and me had learned our instruments to make it happen.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to play bass, and Sam was, Sam. So Sam can play any instrument, honestly. But like,
that adds up, yeah.
It was one of those things where we were just like, fuck it. It can't be that hard. So it's really, it's really unpolished, but like, I don't know, it's practice. That's what I feel that whole EP is, practice. And people come up to Maddie and me and Sam at shows and are like, oh my God, I love Crush. And we're like, really?
Are you sure about that?
We don't. I don't know what there is to love about it.
No, I mean, it was really fun to learn the whole recording experience and the process and all of that.
Was it like self-produced?
Our friend Jack Daly.
Okay.
Yeah, he recorded it and mixed it and did all that stuff for us, which was really cool. But we recorded it 3 months after we each started on our instruments, so it was a little bit interesting and rough. And we played one of our old ones from that EP at a show a while ago, and it made me realize how bad I was back then. This is actually very easy now.
Yeah. It's just like basically.
Oh yes, no, it was.
I mean, it's punk music. Come on,
it's punk
music. So after put out the EP, been a band for a little while. How did you get connected with the band?
So
pre-name change.
I was
tell the heckle story, please.
I will.
Or I can tell it if you want.
I will.
Did you heckle?
No. So I was a solo artist for a while. I put out an album in 3 years ago now in June, I think. And I was just hanging around playing some music, and my friend Van reached out to me on Twitter and was like, hey, this band's playing a show at the Garage, do you want to play it? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then she connected me with Dylan, and then I went and I had a Telecaster, a tiny Vox amp, and one distortion pedal.
This was, for reference, the Gay Rage show at the Garage over the summer.
So I went to the show. A bunch of my family were there. A bunch of my friends were there. My sister was there, and my family had gone out for drinks before this show.
Oh.
And my family is very loud when they talk, and so when they think that they're whispering, they're really yelling. And so the entire set, my sister was talking, but I was on stage. She was at the back of the Garage, and I could hear everything she was saying as I was playing. And it was very, very funny. I thought it was really funny. Dylan thought it was great. Yeah, so after that, a week or so later, Dylan texted me, was like, hey, we're looking for a new rhythm guitarist. Do you want to play with us? And I was like, yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and then I joined in August-ish?
Yes.
Towards the end of summer.
We played our first shows in October, so it would have been August.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, after that, you came together for the Glitter Cannons show.
The 18th of October.
18th of October 2019. I know Joe already did a little mini phone interview and write-up on that, so we don't need to do too much on that. But why did you choose to kind of do such just a unique thing to celebrate just the shift in the band, the name change, officially debuting the full version of the band with Jack? It feels like usually just bands we swapped out a member, they just make an announcement on Twitter or something, but y'all went out with a full fucking show and had artists and everything. Where did the idea for that come from? Why Why?
I mean,
Why?
most of this is
That's like a
Dylan.
very positive why, because like that's
Yeah.
cool, not like a why
Why would you do that? It's so extra.
This was mostly Dylan's brainchild, so they can tell you a lot more about the ins and outs of everything. But
Yeah.
the main thing that we wanted was because we were doing such a, I guess you could call it a tonal shift in the stuff that we were producing,
Yeah.
and the art that we were making. And since we had a new member, and we just thought it would be cool to do a larger, almost production-ish house show, and go crazy, which we did.
Because we could, Wes.
Well, excuse me. The interview's
So-
over. No.
So the whole tonal shift was something where we sat down because we were trying to write new music, and we had a break in shows because I think right before we were done as Loneliest Ways, where we played like 2 shows a weekend for like 3 weekends straight. We started writing new music, and I was like, wow, this sucks. So I was
It wasn't so much bad, but everybody was going in a different direction. Like Dylan was very much like, let's do psych punk, and Jet was like, let's do pop punk, and Maddie was like, I want to be the Grateful Dead and just jam all the time, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah, and so we kind of needed to solidify what we actually wanted to do,
Yeah.
and so we weren't all just like going all over the place all
Just-
the time.
Some weird psychedelic chaos.
So we made this decision to just sit outside, and we had cigarettes. We were just talking about what we wanted to do, and it was at that point where Jet was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I think I want to dip. And we were like, okay, well, you can dip out then.
Yeah.
And I immediately was like, well, we need a rhythm guitarist. And that thing at the garage with Jack just inspired me so much. I was like, God, they're so cool. They're getting heckled up there. I love it. It's fucking awesome. I called Jack in. Jack came in. We started writing new songs, and the songs were just exploding out of us, blah, blah, blah. And I had,
Sure,
you know, the songs were pouring out of us. They were exploding out of us.
So natural and
It was just-
automatic. There
we
was
were
no
writing
work.
all the time.
One could say it was a flood of.
Whoa. I didn't even.
I feel like sometimes artists exaggerate that part. It was flowing out of us. It was
Yeah.
flowing. No, it's just like, hey, let's play this. Okay, and then we played it, and we were like, sweet.
Oh, that was cool. Yeah.
I got this idea to do just a gig to do it all, because I feel like there's just so much extra that goes into putting stuff on Twitter, being like, we changed our name, and then people go, whatever, you know what I mean? But if you can get someone to come to the show, sit down in your basement and go, oh shit, they just changed their name, what are they going to do? And then play all your new
Oh
stuff.
shit! What are they gonna do?
So I, wanted to go out and get lights. I want to get a smoke machine. Part of the reason that I wanted to just go this full glam direction is me and my fiance Aiden got stupid high one night, and we watched Hedwig and the Angry Inch by John Cameron Mitchell. And if you haven't seen that movie and you're a queer person, you probably should, because that movie is unbelievably cool. It's on Blu-ray now and DVD. And we watched all the way through. We got all the way to the end, and I was like, yeah, we should do that. So I immediately brought it to Maddie. Me and Maddie watched it. Maddie's terrible at watching movies, but even they enjoyed it all the way through. Maddie talks through movies all the time.
Oh, what?
Oh yeah.
I can't stand it.
Rude.
I think it's a Zoomer thing. It's fine.
It's probably a Zoomer thing.
So we had the idea to do a smoke machine, and we did lights, and we had this big fuck off tube TV that we were going to play stuff off of.
It's still in my basement.
It's still in Sam's basement because Sam thinks I'm taking it back. So when the show actually happened and we actually started playing, we had so many people in that basement, all the shit crashed.
We had so many things plugged into so many power strips that we played, we hit the first hit of glitter cannons, and everybody rushed forward, and as Maddie got swallowed by the crowd and all of our shit came unplugged, all of the power went out.
I think that's what Joe said, yeah. But as you're prepping for an album, and you've put out 3 songs and a live album at this point, let's talk about the songs, because there are at least a few of them.
Sure.
There are a few. Since, from what you've told me and what I've just seen, everyone except for Sam writes lyrics, and that isn't a knock.
I know.
Okay.
That's honestly one of the reasons I don't write very many, because I suck at writing lyrics. And so I'm like, oh, I have all this music and no lyrics. Matt, you want to write lyrics? And they're like, that's fine.
Can I tell the short story about you and asparagus?
which I don't know if I'm aware of this, but yes.
No, it was like we were going to do a surprise drop for that asparagus single, and we just, I don't know, teased it. Teasing is stupid. Hype is stupid. So we just did one
like a
picture.
5-second clip. Yes.
Yeah, we did one picture of Jack, and we were going to drop the music video too. So Jack was holding the little clicker, the little clapper that said asparagus and then the date on it. And like a week beforehand, I was getting nervous. I was like, oh man, what if this song isn't as great as I thought it was? So I texted all of them individually, and I was like, hey, do you actually like the lyrics in asparagus? Like, you think that they actually hit well? And Jack said, yes, I think it's great. Maddie said, yeah, I think they're amazing. Thank you so much. And Sam said, I don't know. I don't really care about lyrics in songs.
That's not what I said.
That is exactly what you said. You were like, I don't really listen to the lyrics in anybody's songs.
It's not the first thing I listen to.
Just sitting there listening to your classical.
I decide if I like the music. If I like the music, I'll listen to lyrics.
Okay.
Yes.
We don't need to roast Sam for too long.
That's what I'm here for, honestly.
Just here's a punching bag. I'm sorry. But thank you for serving the purpose. Do each of you come up with the lyrics, just lyrics, and then bring it to the band and say, hey, let's turn this into a song. I have these lyrics. Or is it more like you have like a more full demo-ish idea? Does it vary for each of you? And I mean, as much as you can speak for Maddie, since they're not here, cool, but not too much pressure.
So songwriting process is what you're asking about.
Yeah, that was just a really shitty way of saying, how do you write your songs?
In general, what it seems to me is that when either Dylan or Jack writes a song, they will come to the table with like the whole thing. I have it all here. This is what it's going to be. This is every beat that we're going to hit.
Okay.
No pun intended. But when Maddie writes something, it's generally they figure it out kind of like a solo artist would. And then we get it and jam with it and then figure out what places to hit and what the shape of it is going to look like.
I'm guessing a lot of it comes through jamming, given
Oh, yes.
live shows, what the live album just in general.
It seems like a lot of when we do songs that Maddie writes, we just kind of, Maddie's like, I have these lyrics, let's just play it and then see what happens. When we do Dylan's songs, Dylan's like, okay, we're going to do this part, we're going to run it up to here, and then I'm going to explain the next part, we're going to run up here, do that. So it's much more like segmented out. Yeah.
Songwriting is one of my favorite things ever. And again, I don't want to speak for Maddie because I don't know, maybe Maddie's songwriting process is much different than we're describing. And now, while they're listening to this, they're like, wow, this fucker's got it all wrong. Great, awesome.
Cancel us, I dare you.
When I write songs, who was it that shared that? It was not Neil Peart. Who's the other guy in Rush? Geddy Lee. Geddy Lee called songwriting like paleontology, where you slowly pick away at the song and you slowly brush away at the bones and you go, oh, this part's here, this part's here. That's definitely how I feel about songwriting. So when I'm actually sitting down and like thinking of something, it's all just running in a circle in my head and I'm slowly picking it away. Usually the lyrics come second to the music. I'll think about the music first and I'll think, all right, what am I angry and gay about this week? And I'm like, all right, I'm angry and gay about Tumblr. And I'll write a whole stanza in asparagus about how Tumblr is a fucking cesspool, and then I'll put that into the song.
It is.
And we can talk about individual songs too if you want.
Yeah, I mean, for sure the three that are out, and again, since two of those three songs are Maddie's songs, only you can talk about your each respective involvement with that. But we can start with Asparagus. It's the debut single.
So Asparagus
got a
was
video and everything.
Mine front to back.
Yeah,
I wrote it. Probably in September of last year. It was not the first song that we did as Floodwater Angel, but
that
I
would
was...
be Glitter Cannons, correct?
Huh?
Probably be Glitter Cannons, correct?
Glitter Cannons was the first song I played.
Yeah, Glitter Cannons. That was. We could talk about that one after this as well. But like Asparagus was... I was listening to a lot of a really great podcast called Cocaine and Rhinestones.
Yeah, I heard of it.
And Cocaine and Rhinestones is by Tyler Mahan Coe, and he tells... Not really underground, because there's not really underground country stories, but like stories that don't break the surface of like what family-friendly country music was back in the day. And I was listening to so much brand new music that I'd never heard before from classic country artists like the Louvin Brothers, like Rusty and Doug Kershaw, and that transitioned into like listening to Neil Young, and then transitioned back into listening to like Dolly Parton. So I was like, screw it, I want to write a country song because country beats are fun. So I wrote out what I thought would be the most stereotypical country beat ever, and I played it for myself, and I was like, this is really funny, whatever. And I started writing down lyrics just as they came to my head. The first time that we played Asparagus, I was like, all right, we're going to play you're going to play just a standard country beat, and I'm going to play a 2-beat. And then Maddie was like, what am I going to play? And I was like,
don't.
I got nothing for you. I'm sorry. Maddie's like, all right, I'm not going to play anything. And so that first time that we dropped into it, I was like, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we started playing it. I was like, yes, this sounds so stupid, and I love it. I wrote probably the most for that song lyrically out of any of the songs that I've done, because I really tried to get back to when I first picked up an acoustic guitar like in college, and I was like, I'm going to be a poetry major. That failed. Now I owe college money, But I really got into like trying to write a song lyrically as a classic like Bob Dylan would have written it. And I was
it's like very stanza oriented kind of
stanzas and rhymes and couplets, and then like references to other pieces I wrote it all out in a note on my phone.
Yep.
I tried to make it as thick as I could. I was like, there's not going to be a single repeated word. That was the first thing Maddie said about it, was like, wow, I don't get to repeat anything in this whole song, huh? And I'm like, nope.
We'll play it enough.
Sorry.
Nope, sorry, bud. Maddie had such a hard time learning the lyrics, and it was great from the beginning.
Maddie would just like stare over at Dylan while they were singing, and Dylan would just be like mouthing the words along with them.
So front to back, I wanted to make sure that I could write a song that's as lyrically packed as like a classic 60s folk song would be, while also putting it over top of just a really ironically simple country beat.
Yeah. And then like obviously like the lyrics are all very here and now, very millennial-ish, very modern.
When I wrote it musically, I tried to make it like a rickety, what do they call it? Like a rickety sea house. If you go down to the Carolinas and you go to like where my parents are going to move when they retire in 40,000 years, they're going to move to North Carolina on Myrtle Beach is where it's going to be.
Yep.
All the houses on Myrtle Beach are raised. Oh, hello, cat. Hello. All the houses on Myrtle Beach are raised off the ground because when hurricanes come through, the water level just shoots. So they're all on these giant poles on the beach, right?
Yeah.
And then the water comes in, and your car is protected in a little waterproof garage. I wanted to write a song that looked like one of those houses, but a rickety version of that house. Okay. And then when you get to that breakdown section where everything starts screaming, the house falls over, and then you rebuild it, and then it's still rickety.
And then it gets knocked over again. Yeah. That makes exact sense, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the lyrics, was that... I mean, it's very relatable and very kind of self-aware. Like, I don't want to say tongue-in-cheek because it's like still like... There's parts where you're like, oh no. Any good song has a range of emotions. So,
like Left at London going, I do that.
But yeah.
What's the question, Wes?
Talk about your lyrical process for that, for at least for Asparagus, because you've talked about everything else. Just like, I mean, beyond like the actual specific words, because you talked about like the 60s couplet.
Let me pull out the lyrics and I can actually break down.
Don't know the lyrics to your own song.
I don't want to get it completely wrong. I have a whole note in my phone called Glitter Cannon's Concept, and it's everything I've possibly thought of for Glitter Cannons. The first verse is, and I'm not going to name any names, but the first verse is legitimately, there is one person from my life in each couplet of this verse. So there's the think I'll stay in bed today, make a cup of Earl Grey, who needs sunshine anyways, Totino's crust to the tray. That's somebody that I know. The crochet line is somebody that I know. The video game line is somebody that I know. There's stuff from me in here, like how I used to be before I, became an adult and got engaged, how it goes. But like when you get to the big breakdown part, is supposed to just be kind of when it all falls apart, and like obviously there is an anxiety and depression problem with our generation, and it's ridiculously hard to overcome. I don't know. And people will say that previous generations just didn't know or diagnose, and it's like, oh, everybody was sad back then. It's like, I don't know, now that we got a word for it, we could probably do something to fix it. You know what I mean? So this whole breakdown part is just supposed to be a nervous breakdown or like a depressive episode where you're like, man, everything sucks. And then as soon as it comes back, you just click back into it. And you're like, no, I'm good.
I think it's good. Yeah.
The therapist line.
Awkward acapella ending.
The therapist section. Well, hold on. I'll talk about the second verse as well. So the second verse is about kind of this mutual escapism that a lot of people participate in order to escape that. So like this rainbow future all for me. Oh, gee golly, I don't think it's quite the sight to see. The news has got me worried. The footage kind of blurry, but I don't like getting up early and the rally's at 9:30. Like it's this circle of escapism where people don't want to be activists because it's easier to not be an activist. Or people don't want to take a side, which is this one, the news has got me worried. The footage kind of blurry, was about who was the police shooting over by the state fair.
Philando
Castile.
One of the big criticisms of that police shooting was his girlfriend in the car was recording it when it happened, and it all goes down. You get to hear it all go down. He gets shot. He dies in his car. She's crying, right? The number one criticism was, well, her cell phone image was kind of blurry. We don't actually know what happened. Also, it was staring at the dashboard. And it's like, that's such a cop-out. That's so fake. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have any critical thinking skills for yourself. That you're just going to be like, whatever. The footage
it wasn't
is
in
blurry.
4K. Yeah, fuck it all.
That one specifically was about Philando Castile. This next part is... there's some really gross stuff in here if anyone ever listens to it, which is fine. I get enough validity from my online community. I'm asking for impunity. I'm barely out of puberty, which is, again, I don't know, in the 1940s, can you believe this? We sent 18-year-olds off to war. Like, could you imagine being 18 and then going to fight on Normandy? That's ridiculous. But like, now you get people who are 21, 22, 23, and they're like, I don't want to do anything meaningful because, I don't know, I'm still a kid. I'm still a child. I still go to college. And it's the other one. I would answer truthfully if it wasn't for my zoolatry, which is a really gross word. Don't Google it. And I speak memeish fluently. I'll show you one you haven't seen. So it's all, this whole verse is just it's escapism,
very
culture.
Online. Yeah.
And
the one lyric I will specifically ask about, just so we don't, because we could do a whole separate podcast. It's like one of those Song Exploder things where you just go word by word. Is the Nazi furry line?
The Nazi furry line.
how deep into the Nazi furry line do we want to get?
Oh, there's depth. Oh God. I mean, yeah.
There's depth because we have a specific story about it, but we don't have to tell it.
You don't have to tell it.
So
yeah. Then keep going.
The Nazi furry line specifically is a very legitimately interesting issue of
Nazis in the furry community.
Nazis in the furry community.
Yep.
Because, and this is widely known, that like the furry community is mostly made up of LGBTQ people, right? A lot of furries also identify as queer, right? So the fact that there are furries who identify as LGBT and Nazis is the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen. And they have conventions, you know, they have
separate
furry.
Nazi conventions.
No. See, that's the problem. Is they have furry conventions,
And they try
right?
and make sure the Nazi ones don't show up, but then
they show up and they're like, so that's what the line is about.
Yeah.
Is I think I hate the Nazis except the ones that are furries. Like they get this weird exception where they're like, they're one of us, and it's like, dude, he's got a Nazi uniform on his fur costume.
He's literally he's got like a furry swastika or something. We can talk a little bit, I guess, about Playboy. Not too much again because Maddie dearly departed.
I think I would like to talk about Daughter, but like not XOGG because that's all Maddie.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about Daughter. That is one of the two songs on Playboy, which is the. Would you call it a single? Because I would, because it's like the A side, B side, old school thing. But then people are like,
It was Jack's idea
It's an
to do
EP.
it like that.
Yeah, it's like, okay, let's shut up.
For Daughter specifically, me literally up until like a few weeks ago, me and Maddie were not playing the same chords in the chorus because I was like playing the chorus and Maddie was like, those aren't the chords. I was like, what do you mean those aren't the chords? Those are the
never
chords you
told
told
me
me to
that."
play. And then they were like, no, these are the chords. And then Sam was like, no, that doesn't sound right. And then I played and Sam was like, that doesn't sound right either.
The first time that I heard Daughter in its original form, Maddie had written it, and I love telling this story, it sucked. And the first time that, it was when I was living in my old place, which was like a block away from Paper House. Anyways, the first time I heard Daughter was after a Paper House show, and everyone had left except for Maddie. And Maddie was like, hey, I wrote this song for Glitter Cannons. And I was like, okay, sweet, let's listen to it. And I hated it instantaneously.
Oh, boy.
Because it was not the same as it was because the chord progressions were different.
Yeah.
And it was the same chords, but they were played in like just a classic 4-bar folk kind of thing where it was A, G, 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 G. And I was like, great, it sucks. And then he was like, oh. And I was like, well, this is how we can do it better. So we stretched out the chords, we put it in a different way, and then I had the idea to put the chorus as just like a bum bum, bum bum. We had written the second half of Daughter as Loneliest Ways, and we didn't know what to do with it. And I know a lot of musicians will say this, but if you can't finish a song, you just take another song and push it together. Yeah. So you're like, oh, let's do a Frank Ocean beach switch. And you're like, yeah. It's not really a Frank Ocean beach beat switch. But when we first played the Daughter progression slower, I think that was really cool, because I think what happened, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we were playing it as more of like a classic folk rock jam, like you would expect the band or Neil Young to play it, where it's just da na 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 na, and we were just playing it all kind of coolly, right? The first time that we played it with Daughter, maybe like the second time, Sam came in slower than usual. And we all followed, and we played it slower than usual.
It's because I don't have
Follow
rhythm.
the drummer. Yeah.
And when we got to the end of it, we all stopped and looked around and was like, that was really heavy, dude. That was really cool. We were playing it faster until Sam played it slower. We were playing it at the same speed as Daughter. And when we played it slower, we were like, that was so cool. Let's do that every time. And now Sam is upset because every show we're setting up, I go, hey, Sam. And Sam's like, yeah, what? I'm like, play the Daughter one a little bit slower this time.
I was like, no, just a little bit slower.
Just a little bit slower. When we first recorded the Daughter solo, Maddie started on the high register, which is what they were normally doing, and it also wasn't meshing right, and we were like, whatever. Why does this sound so weird? And I was like, we're going to start it on the low register, and you're going to rip it up to that note. And when we did that, it sounds so much like Janis Joplin. It's so hot. I love it so much. I don't think Maddie plays the low register part first when we do it live, but on the recording, I love it, and it hits perfectly, and I think it's great.
Also, live is just, in general, a different beast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think anyone that has witnessed the show can fully verify that. Just
That
like,
it all comes
even
out.
just listening to it, you're like, oh, okay, this is pretty jammy, this is pretty cool. And then I think it's interesting, but it's less surprising for you than other bands to put out a live album where the songs are just so much more just jammy
I looked
out there.
When Dilla was like, oh, hey, the live album's up, I looked at it, I was like, Exo Gigi is 9.5 minutes long?
Oh, I got the Bandcamp notification when I was standing there with Sam, like, oh, your album came out. And he's like, what? Huh?
So you mentioned specifically in your article that you don't know who it was recorded by, because if you go on our Bandcamp, it says recorded by asterisks.
Yeah.
Because we don't know who it was recorded by either.
I was like, it's probably just like either like
Was
just
it not?
whoever was running sound at Kitty Cat Club that night, and
I
wanted
have
to protect
no
the
idea
private
who recorded it.
privacy.
Here's how it came up. So we were in bed, me and Aiden, and we were just on our phones. And Aiden goes, hey, Vin just reached out to me. It was the band that opened for us.
Yeah.
And said, Vin said someone was at the show with a recorder and recorded you guys and wants to know if you guys want it. And I was like, that's so cool. Yeah.
Not
send
even
it
like an
over.
official, like not even like whoever's doing. Oh.
And we got an email the following morning from like someone's first name and 3 digits at AOL.com. Okay. I downloaded it. It was like a 500 meg file, and I listened to it on my break at work. And I was so blown away at how cool Daughter sounded. I was like, immediately, I want to put this on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
So I responded to Mr.12345 at AOL.com.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, hey, is it cool if we put this up on Bandcamp as like a free album? It sounds really good. And I never got a response. So no response whatsoever. I took it into Audacity. I cut them into pieces.
Yep, that's the move.
And then I put them on Bandcamp, and I was like, wow. There's some parts in it that are a little unpolished, but like,
Well,
it's a live album. It's a
live
live album.
album. Seriously. Yeah, unless it's like I don't think anyone that goes into a live album expecting like perfect precision or just like sound, like really good sound quality, like you're not, don't listen to a live album then. Like that's not the point. The point is like the energy, man. Was the reason to put it out just kind of more like a shoot, we have it, and you just kind of like almost like a fun, not novelty, but like just like a fun just thing to toss out there and just get some other songs that haven't been recorded live, like the new one, Jeffrey Epstein Didn't Kill Himself, Figure It Out, Cat's Back, and just have that out there and like those songs out there in some capacity.
Yeah, it was two reasons. The first reason being that like I wanted myself to have easy access to like our jammed recordings, because I love jamming on stage so much that the XOGG jam keeps getting a new piece every time we sit down to add something to it. Before it was just, we're just going to do the twinkly part over and over again.
Twinkle riff over and over and
then
over
it
again.
was, okay, we're going to add that 4/4 section back in, and then we're going to play a cool bass line. And now we're thinking like, we're just going to be up there until we die. Screw it. But I wanted
Tuesday night.
I wanted those
It's a
recordings
Tuesday night.
specifically, and the new song that we wrote that's not even a song. It's just straight up
It's
a
just an
jam
instrumental.
with no
It's just
lyrics.
jamming.
Yeah.
Which I hope we can put on our upcoming album just as a fun instrumental, because the song is for Sam's dad, who introduced me and Aiden to Twin Peaks and gave us all of Twin Peaks.
Like just like a physical, like DVD, or just gave it to you as a thing that you now love.
I'm going to tell the Jason Tudor is
Please
the
do.
Pirate King story.
He is. He's been
So-
shut down a couple times.
So Sam's dad's name is Jason, and Jason
Yes.
is the Pirate King.
Oh.
So Jason Tudor no longer gets access to any high-speed broadband internet providers.
We didn't have access before.
He doesn't get anything except for local, whatever dial-up ass shit you guys have at that house. Because he was the #1 source of pirated Game of Thrones episodes in the United States. He was seeding all of Game of Thrones for years.
Yes, he was.
All of it. Like, anytime there was a new episode, he would upload that Game of Thrones episode 1080p, leave it seeding on his computer. He's the #1 source of Game of Thrones in the United States. As well as all of the other things that he was seeding out to torrenters, right? So he doesn't have good internet anymore because no one will give it to him.
Yeah.
So he has so much media on his computer that he just keeps sending to Aiden over and over again. He was like, I'm going to turn you on to something. You guys should watch Twin Peaks, and sent us Twin Peaks. We were like, sure. We finished the first season. We were like, all right, you were right.
Yeah.
So I
And then it's downhill from there.
So I specifically wanted to do a bluesier jam song based on the song The Pink Room from Fire Walk With Me, which is the Twin Peaks movie.
You've been kind of left to the side for this, so I guess we could talk about Jeffrey Epstein Didn't Kill Himself. Because, but anyone that's been to pretty much any Floodwater set has seen that song, so talk about that little anti-capitalist little jam.
Yeah, so I wrote this song one day. I was in my room. I was mad about not having money and about other people having a lot of money. And so I was just like playing guitar, and I like played the little riff. And I was like, this is kind of fun. So I just started spitballing lyrics as I was doing it. The way I like sort of write my songs is I just kind of like write a chord progression, and then I like just try to fit stuff on top of it. And then I sent it to my friend Natalie, who I send like all of my songs to when I write them, and she thought it was great. And I was like, hey Dylan, I was like, hey Dylan, do you want to hear this new song I wrote? And Dylan was like, yes. And so I sent it to them. And then they sent it to Maddie and Sam, and we went and saw
Lighthouse.
Was it the Lighthouse?
As a band.
That's the
Yeah.
only one I've come.
Yeah,
saw the Lighthouse.
we went and saw the Lighthouse
Good-ass
later that
movie.
night, and Maddie was like, "Oh, hey, Dylan sent me that song you wrote. I really dig it." And I was like, "They did what?" But yeah, and so that was how that kind of came into being, and then we just did we played it as a full band, and then as we do, added in multiple jam sections. But yeah, I mostly just like it's always cathartic to play because I just get to scream a lot about how angry I am about the state of the world.
It's laundry list of things.
Exactly. And it's nice because there's you can have some crowd interaction at the end, which is always fun, and people always go really hard to it, which is really cool to see.
Yeah. How did you get connected with Brian? Because as you said, they produced Asparagus, produced Playboy, mixed, recorded everything. Will do the album?
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday, me and Aiden, because apparently nobody knows. Me and Brian have known each other since high school. We're very good friends.
Just a friend.
No, me and Brian have been friends almost 10 years. So
Okay.
yeah, we know each
Because
other.
I
from
tried
high
looking
school.
it up. I'm like, oh, this is like some random studio, like especially with like the Over the Rainbow. I'm like, oh, there's that studio name. Ooh.
So Brian
Nope.
thought up Over the Rainbow when he was living in Minot, and he's from Minot. And we met in high school through a couple of different friends who were just like, oh, you do music? My friend Brian does music. It was like, cool. And then we just swapped demos. And he finally got to move down here after wanting to move here for like ever.
Mm-hmm.
And in Minot, he had his own little home recording studio with all kinds of shit that he all sold off so that he could move down here. And it was called Over the Rainbow Studios, right? But he still calls it Over the Rainbow Studios, but it's funnier now because he lives on the top floor and me and Aiden live on the bottom floor. So he's literally over the rainbow. But yes, definitely going to be doing the album as well because I don't trust anyone like I trust that guy when it comes to being in the studio.
Nice.
And also it's really nice because we can come in and like sit in,
And annoy him all
Yeah.
the time.
Mm-hmm.
and he's always super like responsive to like the things that we ask for, and he's like so quick at like his edits. Like we'll be like, oh, we should fix up this part, and he's like, I got this, don't even worry about it. And
It's
then
like,
he'll,
oh, don't worry.
Let me just quantize
done.
everything.
it's like, yeah, literally just like click click click, how does this sound? Wonderful.
Continuing on that, for the full album, what is the vision? You said, I think May is the tentative release date.
May, June, July.
Summer.
Sometime in the summer.
Sometime in the
Hopefully, yeah. I think we're gonna like go out to Maddie's parents' place in Wisconsin and just like hole up there for a weekend and just get it all tracked, get it all down
Just
as
as much as we can.
much as we can.
Incense and coffee and pizza.
Just
And alcohol, because it's Wisconsin.
The last question I wanted to ask, for like kind of wrapping things up, is with the instrument switching mid-show.
My favorite.
Why? Like that's not a lot of bands do that.
oh,
unless
you
they're,
know,
like,
again,
you
Wes.
know what Dylan's gonna say.
We can,
God damn it. I saw the look in your eyes. I was like,
Jack did drumline?
Yeah, I
In
did.
high school.
I was
Okay.
from 7th grade to my freshman year of college. I marched drumline.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
As someone who did marching band, I'm sorry.
But yeah, so I did that for a long time. Drumline was like a huge part of my life, and I really like playing drums. And on Queerfish, it's super fun to just like, because it's like it's the easiest drum part, but I just get to just go crazy on it. And on that, Sam's got the really cool, really fun guitar solo at the end. That sounds super fun.
Last thing I wanted to ask about that's more concrete. The Fine Line show that you have coming up in March. I know you specifically mentioned that when we were planning the interview. So how are you the headliners? Or are you just opening?
We're playing the Fine Line Cafe on March 19th, which is a Thursday night. We got selected in our previous process for voting for Pride Twin Cities to play a like Battle of the Bands set, whatever. And it was 6, and then it was 6 was cut to 4 for voting, and we made second most votes, I believe, in the voting pool. So thank you to anyone who's voted. But the ticket link is on the Fine Line Cafe website, and if you want to buy tickets, you should definitely come because it's going to be 4 very different bands, so you can get a little bit of taste of everything.
Okay.
But it's really cool to be like representing our little section of the scene, and hope that other people in other bands come out so that they
What
can.
are the other bands, if you know off the top of your head?
So the other bands are Tim is a Rocker, which
Okay.
is more of like a punkier sound.
Indie kind of punk. Yeah.
They've been around for quite a while, and they do
have.
play shows a lot. And
Okay.
then we got Hot Pink Hangover, and then we have the rapper Black Phoenix.
Okay. Yeah, that's all over the place. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a pretty big spread, but it's really fucking cool to be playing Fine Line.
It is
Yeah.
so cool. When
Best venue.
when we first started with our Glitter Cannons thing, after we got done, we had so many technical problems at Wave Mania. And the
God.
smoke machine died, and the TV burned out, and the lights were going out all the time, the amps were dying. After the show was over, I immediately made a post, and I was like, it became very clear the limitations that this set and this production. Don't be dropping stuff. It became immediately clear the limitations
Yeah.
that we had and the size that we had to put this on. And since we did that show, we've been getting put on bigger and bigger stages, and we get to fully realize it more and more.
Yeah.
And then we're bringing all the pieces back. Like you saw the smoke machine at Row House.
Yeah.
That was the original smoke machine from Glitter Cannons. We just had broke it, and we had just gotten
Yeah.
it fixed and working. We got the lights coming in. We can maybe bring the TV back if we do like a headlining slot at a big venue. Not that TV specifically, but a different TV.
You could just get a projector.
Just play alligators.
Projector. Yeah.
They'll just do it for you.
So it's been really cool to ask, hey, can we play bigger and bigger stages? And for people to go, yes, come to play on my stage.
What do each of you want to actually accomplish with Floodwater Angel? And you've kind of touched on that just throughout the interview. I'm not like, I don't need like a thesis statement or something. You don't have to be concise because it's a big question. And
So there's so I have a funny answer and a serious answer. So which
Okay.
one do you want first, Wes?
get the funny one out of the way.
Okay, I told Maddie that if we ever play the First Avenue main room, I'm gonna quit as soon as we get off stage. I'm gonna quit the band.
They're gonna quit music. They're just
I'm gonna go out on top. That's my idea. It's like that's my goal. My personal goal is I just want to play the main room to a hopefully very nicely sold crowd. It doesn't have to be sold out, but just a nice crowd.
Yeah.
And I told Maddie specifically, and they are so scared that I'm telling the truth. They're like, no, you can't quit after the main room. That's your first big jump. And I'm like, no, I'm going out on top.
I'm peaking, yeah.
I'm not going to quit after 3 years of doing bad gigs after going, ooh, and back down. If you get out right at the top, that's the best place to sell your stock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My serious answer
Stonks.
is that I want the album Glitter Cannons and the band as a whole to just be like proof that if you want to do something out of the ordinary, outside of the box, that it can still be successful, and you don't have to like succumb to a template of like, oh, you have to do this, this, and this, otherwise people are never going to book you for shows. And there is so much like great outsider music outside of this one circle that we have, and it's great to have a really tight knit, quote DIY community, and it's cool to have a tight knit group of friends that you can go to other people's shows with. It's like that quote from the First Avenue exhibit we went to, where in the 80s when they were doing just punk shows at 7th Street, they said it was cool that everybody all got their turn.
Yeah.
And we're coming around this sweet era where touring bands aren't coming to Minnesota because it's cold.
Yeah, they really don't.
So we're in this really sweet area where everybody's getting their turn at 7th Street. We had it in January. Bob Ross just had it. Dad Bod is playing tonight at 7th
Yeah.
Street. Vile played last month. We're all getting our turn. It's great to have that tight-knit community, but there's so much cool music outside of our community that never gets a chance to come in because they show up and they play something really thick and heavy and people go, that's gross, and you never see them ever again. I want people to know that you can do whatever type of music you want and you can still succeed with it.
Yeah.
And then outside of music, like if you're a young queer artist or you're a young queer filmmaker, you can do whatever you want.
I have, when I moved to the cities about almost 3 years ago now, after the worst year of my life, living in Morris, and I was just like making music by myself. I was playing a show here and there. I didn't really know anybody here, and then I very quickly everything sort of changed when I like joined this band and I was like making music again and I was like performing all the time and I was meeting all these new people and it was super, super cool. And like being able to like do this and like be the person that I am and like perform all the time is like my favorite thing in the whole fucking world. And like it is so cool to like just have all these like have people come out and like really like get behind what we're doing. And I want to keep doing this and like to keep getting better and to keep writing more songs and to keep performing. And like Dylan said, I want to like show people that like you, if this is something that you want, like you can do it. Like if you don't see a space that you feel like you can like do these things in, you can make it yourself. Like there is always going to be things that stand in the way of that, but like if you really put your heart and soul into something, like you can make something super fucking cool. And that's what I feel like we're doing, and that's what I want to continue doing.
Yeah. Sam.
Me. No, music is one of the, I think it is one of, if not the most fulfilling thing you can do. Specifically performing is really, really therapeutic, at least for me. And I think more people need to be able to do it at some point in their life. And being able to play music with people on a regular basis is one of the best things that I could ever do. And that's just what I like about this and why I do it and why I want to not stop doing it.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because we randomly interviewed this band of like 30-something, like just older guys that have been in a bunch of bands forever, and that was like the main reason they're still making music and just like playing shows. Like, yeah, it's just like the highlight of our week. It's just like the best thing to do.
And even on the days that I'm like, I'm tired and I don't want to put the energy into moving all of my gear, or even if it's just my violin or my guitar or whatever, and then I get to the gig or the practice and we play or do whatever, I see somebody else play, and I always leave in a better mood than I got there.
You've already shouted out some other bands, just mentioned other bands. So I ask, what are some favorite recent like songs or albums you've been listening to? Local is like you get a little extra brownie points for local bands, but just giving some non-local recommendations. Take the time to get out the Spotifys.
I'm just going to preface this by saying, because this sucks when you don't get mentioned on something, right, and you see just a list of other people in your scene that get mentioned. It sucks. This doesn't mean that your band sucks. I appreciate all the music in this scene.
It means that Dylan hates your band.
It means that I hate your band.
Yeah.
I have been listening to, let's pick a couple off the top. The Avalanche's new single, We Will Always Love You, with Blood Orange.
That's good.
The Avalanches is probably my favorite electronic group of all time. They are really, really sweet. I've been listening to Fishin' in the Dark by Nitty Gritty Dirt Band because there may or may not be a bluegrass band project happening within our friend group. For locals, the new Dad Bod single, Spirits, I've been listening to a lot.
I've never heard of Dad Bod in my entire life.
You've never heard of Dad Bod?
No.
You should check them out.
Nah.
Okay.
I just recently found out that
I
Dad
hate Joey
Bod
Maker.
is kind of like Tame Impala. I found that out from Aiden. The backing band for Callie and Dad Bod is their own band called Alexander Natalie.
Yeah. No, we heard about them first, and Joe interviewed them like over a year ago.
So
Noah and Co. were great.
So I've been listening to that, the
They're so
Alexander
good.
Natalie one, of course.
Yeah, Tennessee, and it's such a good single.
And my favorite local band right now is easily Alien Book Club.
Yeah, amazing.
They are firing on all cylinders, is what I said about their 7th Street gig. They are so cool. I actually went back through their Bandcamp and I found one of their first albums that is Andrea and Anita's first album called The Underachievement Award. And the original band name was Wilt Chamberlain and the Dropouts. And there are Alien Book Club songs on here in their original arrangements, like 15 Blocks and Life in Hell. And it's such a fun little remix. I love it so much. So those are the threes I've been listening to.
I have a lot, because I always have a lot. For local stuff, I've been listening to a lot of Rhino Shine. I'm very excited for their new project that they're coming out with. It's going to be incredible, especially since I can actually hear Sam drumming now, which is insane. That human is ridiculous. A lot of Vile, a lot of the Shackletons, they slap. I said lapdogs as usual.
We just
You said Rhino Shrine.
I said Rhino Shrine. I also said lapdogs.
Say lapdogs before him though.
Always
didn't say
Tea for Cheap
lapdogs.
because
Yeah.
they're amazing.
yeah,
They played Wave
another
last
band I've
night.
never
It
heard
was
of.
one of the best shows we've had. It was so wholesome. Non-locally, I found this person, Sammy Ray, is insane. Katie Pruitt, the Menzingers, they're amazing.
Yeah.
What else? I mean, Phoebe Bridgers is always. There's somebody called. Oh, geez, they're from Australia. They are very small right now, but I absolutely love them. They have,
Oh yeah, my favorite band.
They only have one
Sorry.
EP out. Her name is Angie McMahon. She's so good.
Okay.
She has one of the most beautiful voices I've ever heard. I've been listening to her
Yeah.
EP Salt for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your turn.
I have been, as we said before, I was listening to the first Glass Beach album a lot.
Yeah.
Really love Glass Beach. I've been listening to Mannequin Pussy, their album
Yeah.
Patience. Very, very good. So good. I've been listening to the newest Ezra Furman album, 12 Nudes, which is also incredible. I just re-listened to Wildflower by the Avalanches not too long ago.
Frankie Sinatra.
I was like,
Such a weird lead single, but such a good one.
I was listening to it with my friend Maggie, and I was like, I forgot how weird this fucking song
We
is.
should play Frankie Sinatra for Sam in the car on the way home and see if Sam's brain explodes.
You have to.
But yeah, I mean, I said a lot of local artists like Keep for Cheap, Vile, Baumgartner, who is super fucking cool.
I need that
love
shit
Baumgartner.
on Spotify. Well, thank you for sharing the love with some of these bands. I'm sure they would reciprocate for the most part if they know who you are, which I'm assuming they do.
I don't think the Avalanches know who we are.
Oh,
but
I meant local, but yeah. It'd be cool.
I'll
if they
send
did.
them an email. We can
Yeah.
open for them next time they're
Hey,
here.
Hi,
want to
do you wanna get
remix our
coffee?
song? Yeah. Well, thank you so much to all three of you for coming on and rambling. But those were the most fun episodes.
Thank you.
The Ear Coffee Podcast is a companion to the blog of the same name. If you like this episode, please leave us a rate and review so we can stand out among the other music podcasts. You can follow us at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram @Ear Coffee. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.